Chris, hey, congratulations with all your project. 2022 is going to be your year, isn't
It's the rocket year. That's what they say. They're taking off.
it? I'm actually amazed because just looking at some of your projects listed here for this year, I don't know where you're going to find your free time for anything.
It's every free window is currently occupied, but it's okay. I love it. We were just talking, my manager and I. If you love what you do, then it's all just love. It's all part of the love.
Well, then let's talk about some of your projects that's upcoming this year. First, let's talk about that acting gig that you actually have with Call Me Cat. That's a guest role that you joined on board for that series, right?
Yeah, I joined on to do somewhere between 1 and 3 episodes last season, and then I believe on episode 3 or 2, they called to start negotiating having me back as a series regular. So I came on to be her boyfriend, and I've stayed her boyfriend, and it's been really great. Yeah.
How do you feel of that upgrade status? Basically becoming a recurring character on the series like Call Me Cat.
It feels amazing, and it felt like coming home when I showed up there. I think I showed up on day one, and I felt like I was where I was supposed to be, and I think that has to do with the cast. I think that has to do with their openness, and their availability and their lack of egos. And they just embraced me, and I embraced the space, and I think we all dance and bounce off of each other really well.
It is an amazing role for you to play this character. I believe he's called Oscar,
Yep.
who's a delivery man, and I think you bring in some certain charm. Is Oscar really sort of like similar to you?
I think Oscar's the more bubbly me. If I was champagne at all times, I think that's Oscar. I think he's got like even a more, I have a pretty positive outlook. He's even more positive outlook. Like somehow it's all gonna be okay. So yeah, he's got the charm. He's a little silly, maybe a lot silly, and he's just kind of always believing everything is gonna it's gonna work.
So how did you develop this chemistry with Ma'am? During the first season when you were a guest character, compared to now being a recurring character.
Yeah, I think Mayim and I hit it off immediately. I think that she was a big part in casting me. She knew she would be spending time with this person, and she was adamant that when she saw an audition, she was looking for that sort of spark, whatever that meant to her. And she saw mine. I came in, and we really clicked. We share a lot of the connections of New York roots, and we share a lot of the same philosophical likings, and we just really enjoy not only acting with each other but hanging out with each other, which is huge. So the chemistry, thankfully, like all good things, was easy and effortless, and we've been able to nurture it throughout the season.
Wow. And what is she like when the camera's off? I mean, she's a very respectful actress in the industry for so many years.
I mean, you think I'm busy? Like, try being a mother, host of Jeopardy, making your own movie, a star of a TV show. I'm just like, she does it all with grace and ease. She has been such a lesson to me, not only about acting, in that world, but how to move through the world, as a successful, busy artist creator. And I've learned a lot from her.
Now, only if we could get you sort of like a quiz show too, and then
Yeah.
and then you could have the full spectrum on your resume.
Yeah, we'd have battling quiz shows. So whoever's listening and needs a host to a quiz show, hit your boy up. I'm not
That's
as I'm not as smart as her. She's got her PhD in neuroscience. So Jeopardy's kind of perfect for her. I need a more culturally appropriate quiz show.
so in the second season, Oscar did actually becomes the permanent boyfriend for Cat. Are there other storylines that they're exploring with Oscar? Because I actually noticed that one of the storylines is to become better friends with Max.
Yeah, so becoming better friends with really all of the friends, right? Like that's a big thing with this season is how does he interact not with Kat but with everyone else, and how does he spend time and what shenanigans does he get into with everyone else? I end up building quite a nice relationship with Kat's mother. That's been really fun, and we have some other big things. You meet some members of Oscar's family, which is really exciting, and some sort of drama takes place there. And then some other big surprises that are hush hush, but will be fun challenge for Kat.
We will certainly see. And one more thing about the show, because at the end of before the credits roll, it is revealed that it's a live studio audience. Am I correct? And
yeah.
And so, what is that like? Because we don't see that too often anymore. Because now these days it's like, those laugh tracks, and some productions are shut down because of or limited because of COVID and so on.
Yeah, I mean, what people do is they provide an energy that is unique and singular. Like a closed set at the end of the day is special in its own right, but when you put in people and laughter, which is infectious, you feel it, and it bounces off onto the cast. It bounces off to everyone really in the room, and that energy is really special. And there is less and less of it, but it is a beautiful thing to preserve and honor. Yeah,
that is true. Well, let's look at another side of your career. Podcaster is something that it sounds like something that you love to do. And you have what, 2 upcoming podcasts here coming up?
I have 2. Yeah, I have a 10-parter based on a play I wrote called "The Real James Bond Was Dominican," which is about a Dominican man named Porfirio Rubirosa, who James Bond was based on. And I have a weekly show called Brown Enough, which is the same title as a book I have coming out. So both similar, also different. I'm working with Stitcher, the team at Stitcher. I love podcasting. I'm also learning a lot about podcasting. It's different than writing an essay. It's different than writing for TV or writing a book. It's unique in its the sense that it's to be heard, and the way you capture people's attention and tell stories and break them out over time is different. So I'm loving learning. That's like the process I'm really enjoying about podcasting is I get to work with a couple of geniuses who have done it for a long time, and they are both teaching me quite a bit. The team at Stitcher is killer.
Well, then let's first talk about that Dominican James Bond podcast. Is that a narrative podcast that you're narrating, or is that like sort of like a replay? Is it a fictional character or is it a real character?
He was a real person, Porfirio Rubirosa. So it's a docu-series. It's a narrative doc. It'll be over 10 episodes where we explore my discovery of this person, who this person was, the history of the DR the history of his relation to the world. He was a pretty epic character that lived in Hitler's Germany, Fidel's Cuba, Paris, Argentina, you name it, somehow he was there. And how that relates to me now as a young brown man in Hollywood, and what can I learn from his life to try and emulate and to also beware of. So that's 10 parts of that. Yeah.
And what is you most so certain to the fact that he is sort of like a Latino James Bond?
What am I attracted to, you said?
Yeah.
I think the question I always asked ever since I discovered this, and something that has really driven me, I think, as an artist, is how would my life have been different if I saw someone on the screen who looked like me? Because as a kid, I loved James Bond. I mean, I would play for hours in my tidy whities, pretending to be him with all my little Nerf guns. And, what if I wasn't pretending to be that white dude, but I was pretending to be some Dominican dude who might have looked like my father or me or many of the people I know and love? And that powerful question has driven me. What it matters that we see ourselves on screen, in media, and how can I be a part of changing the stories and telling new stories?
Do you feel as of right now, you are part of the changing of those stories?
I do. I like that question because it allows me to remind myself that I do feel that way. And I know there's always work to be done in in all of the craziness that's happening in the world, there's always work to be done, but it's nice to recognize our wins. And I do feel a part of that. And I hope to continue to be a part of that and to also open doors and possibilities for others.
So who did you admire growing up that looks like you?
Oh, John Leguizamo. It's the reason I do what I do, I think. You know, I saw a couple Broadway shows when I was a kid. I saw Peter Pan and Beauty and the Beast, but you know, I was like, yeah, that's really tight. Like something about this whole theater thing is amazing. But when I saw John Leguizamo do Freak on Broadway, when I was 13, I was struck. I was smitten. You know, he's a Colombian kid from Queens. I'm from Queens. I'm half Colombian, and I saw all these people just enamored and laughing and crying, and I knew that there was a place for me, and that I just had to sort of walk in that direction. And so John Leguizamo, I'd say, is my person.
No kidding. I mean, he's on the news this week because he was talking about the issue of not just Latinos, but also of colorism.
Really, we got to link up.
Well, that leads to the other podcast that you actually have, Brown Enough. Tell us about that podcast series, because I understand it's going to be an interview podcast series.
Primarily an interview podcast series. Maybe we'll throw a couple of other things in there, but we are just trying to put brown people on blast. And brownness to us is everything in between this wild, muddy spectrum we call white and black. And there's so much in between there that can be recognized and put on blast for the amount of good work they're doing, whether it's artists or people working in the tech space or meditation and mindfulness or food. So it'll mainly be an interview series, 40 episodes. And we're really excited because we've already put a couple on wax, and they're powerful, they're incredible, they're funny. So we're excited to have those out in the world.
So when you are coming up with these this podcast here, are you trying to showcase the accomplishments, or showcasing like dreams, or showcasing their stories?
I think stories are a huge part of it, because at the end of the day, I'm always a storyteller, and I believe like story is the main currency of the world, even before money. We invest in story, we believe in story. And so definitely people's stories, because I think people's stories are inspirational and they can teach us a lot. But also, yeah, what dreams do they want to have happen, and what have they accomplished? What's next for them? And also challenging conversations. We bring in people to challenge me on my own thoughts and theories. And that's also really exciting, you know, that we create this safe space where two people can have their world meet each other and hopefully create a third world.
Can you could you kind of like hint to us of some of the people that you had a chance to talk to that we should know about or you admire?
Yeah, I mean, we have everything from the people teaching me Spanish, right? Like that's a big part of my life. I didn't grow up learning Spanish, and I've decided to change that narrative in me. And so I work with this incredible group called Spanish Sin Pena, you know, Spanish without shame. And they work primarily with Latin people who feel shame for not knowing a language they think they should know. So that's like a really incredible interview that I think people will, whether it's Spanish or another language, I think first generation kids feel like maybe I should know this language that my parents speak, but I was raised speaking English. Why? We speak with a successful up and coming actress, Gracie Mercedes, who's on NBC Grand Crew. We have some actresses. We have a racial theory specialist, racial identity theory, who runs me through my own racial identity theory. We have a taco expert who talks to us about the Middle Eastern influence inside of Latin America and how that's still present today. So yeah, a lot of really exciting things.
Now, all this leads to another thing on your resume as a writer, because you have an upcoming book called Brown Enough. Was this book written before the podcast, or this book was written during the podcast?
Both, really. I mean, I've been writing it. It feels like my whole life. So definitely written before and edited and adjusted during, but it is out of my hands now, which feels good. And I'm excited to have it in the world soon, October 2022 with Row House Publishing. And it is a collection of true stories that talk about brownness and brownness in the lens of social justice, brownness in the lens of family, of home, of the student loan crisis, of colorism, right? Hit up John Leguizamo, of climate change. You know, I look at always true stories because, like I said, I'm a storyteller, and that's the lens in which I like to create my work. So that book is coming out, and I cannot wait for people to read it and engage with it, and then for us to have conversations about it.
So one last thing before I let you go, what do you want us to know about, the issue of being brown enough to the world?
I want everyone, brown, white, yellow, red, purple, like I want everyone to know that how important it is to find spaces to be seen and heard. And if you think those spaces don't exist, they do. And if by listening to this, they are reminded that their voice matters and their story matters, then some of the work is already done. Your story matters.
Most excellent. And there's still plenty of work to do. So Call Me Kat is currently airing right now.
Yep.
Brown Enough book is coming out on October 2022, later this year. And when are the podcasts coming out?
July, you'll start hearing those.
Most excellent. Well, Chris, it's a pleasure speaking to you about your works, and hopefully we get to do this again. And you know what? I'm crossing my fingers that you get John into one of those podcasts and you could ask those questions.
I will take from your mouth to the universe's ears. I will take it.
Most excellent. Let's do this again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.